The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has assured that any customer not currently enjoying 20 hours of electricity will not pay the new tariff. The minister stated this while appearing before the Senate Committee on Power for a one-day investigative hearing on the need to halt the proposed increase in electricity tariff by 11 successor electricity distribution companies amid the biting economic situation in Nigeria. According to him, the government had introduced a new policy to save the drowning sector, assuring Nigerians that the pains were temporary. The minister also stated that the federal government will pay the sum of 2.9 trillion naira to subsidize electricity this year if the tariff was not reviewed.
Is being owed to the power generating companies, while the legacy debt of the gas supply companies stood at $1.3 billion. In 2023, the total subsidy for the tariff was supposed to be 720 billion naira. The government only funded 400 billion, leaving a total of over 300 billion brought forward to 2024. And at the current pricing regime, we estimated that if we retain the tariff at the current rates, the government will be needing about 2.9 trillion to subsidize electricity this year. And we looked at the government budget itself. We looked at the provision for subsidy. We discovered and confirmed that government could not afford to pay this. Government budget is 28 trillion naira. 2.9 trillion is subsidy for power sector alone is over 10% of the budget, which is not realistic for us to ask the government to pay. But there are other competing sectors for these limited resources. We now said.
During the session, Chairman of the committee, Senator Naya Abaribe, and other committee members raised the question of how customers were migrated from the previous customer classes of residential R1, R2, R3, commercial C1, C2, and demand D1, D2 to different bands. They also requested to know if the band classification was under the provisions of the law.
And which I believe must have increased by today. And also to investigate the role of the Ministry of Power, NEC, and the company known as Ziglax on their failed agreement to provide meters and ensure that Nigerians are not shortchanged. Of utmost importance is to ensure that the provisions of the Electricity Act 2023, as amended, are implemented to the letter, particularly sections pertaining to tariffs and subsidies, in the sense that the procedures for such increase are strictly followed upon proper consultation and after due dissemination of information to end users, because these are the bone of contention at the moment. This investigative here.
I also want to know how the ministry verified that the discos actually distributed those meters, or did you do the distribution? That's question number one. Then also, secondly, I want to go to the World Bank loan for meters. It was brought to the attention of the Senate that the loan was to be given to us, but in return, the meters would be imported. And we object to that, and I'm trying to find out if that situation has changed and the meters are now being locally produced. Then thirdly, I would like to know how much the discos have invested in the discos since they were acquired. because there's been talk of asset stripping, so it would depend on how much the discos have they been at just the point, the way they were when they were acquired. Was an investment made, minimal, a lot? That would be something I would like to know.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, it's quite evident that enough consultation has not been done before this tariff increase. And it is, to say the least, the increase is outrageous, it's unaffordable, and unrealistic. It is only the discos that are supporting this increase, simply because it's going to favor them. But the Nigerian public, I'm asking a question. The Nigerian public, whom we represent, are crying. And the timing of this increase is not appropriate in view of the fact that there is withdrawal of petroleum subsidy, which has added to the cost of living. There is merger of the exchange rate, which has also made things go very, very high. And now at over 200% of tariff.
200 or 300.
And it has never happened in the history of Nigeria.
The development comes on the heels of the recent increase in electricity tariffs for consumers in the Band A category by NERC.